What are you doing to change the status quo? Since they constitute 50% of the country's population, the youth play a major role in running the affairs of the country, from sports to politics, education, entrepreneurship, entertainment, health, religion, science. The Youth Bantaba is a platform designed to talk about issues affecting and as well as to celebrate the youth. Join me, Aissatou Koli, every Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. on Gambian Talents TV. Youth Bantaba Show, celebrating youth of the Gambia.
Now that the press conference has been called to order, I would like to begin by asking us, in the way we always do in blessing occasions of this nature, all of us in our respective ways, to take a minute of prayer before we begin. Bismillah. Amen. May all our prayers be answered. It is my singular honor, in my capacity as the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, to welcome all of you, representing the diverse press and media houses and institutions, to this press conference, whose main aim is to launch the 2019 annual reports of the National Human Rights Commission, the first of its kind since the establishment of the Commission last year. It is worth noting that the annual reports, the publication of it, is a request, or rather is by law. And I'm sure this will be clarified as we come to tell you more about our functions, which shall be the task of our distinguished and honorable chairperson. But it is worth noting that the Commission did not really cover a full year in 2019 as an established institution, wholly established institution. And as a result, this maiden report has, as a maiden one, given the perspectives but as well as activities of the Commission, which in my own personal opinion can only be categorized as exceptional. So we are hoping that by the end of this session, not only will you better understand what our functions are, why we operate, why we exist, why we are different from other commissions that have been established since 2017, but you will also further know how much work has been done since the commissioners have been sworn in February 2019. With the permission of the Honorable Chair, I would like to introduce members of the High Table. I would like to begin without any particular order from the far left, from my far left of the table, Commissioner Yundu Drame, who is one of the 5 commissioners. Next to him, we have the Honorable Vice Chairperson, Mrs. Jaina Bajong. And I can safely skip 2 of us and go from from the other extreme end of the table, we have Mrs. Judy Oda, who is an AU specialist and expert attached to this commission since before the commission was even established, and who supported in the establishment of the commission. And then on my immediate rights, we have Commissioner Imam Babali. Among the staff, directors present here, we have my Deputy Executive Secretary, Ms. Matilda Mendy. We have the Director of Communications and Media, Mrs. Aissatou Njai Chan. We have Mr. Mansour Joe, who is the Director of Legal and Investigations. We have Mr. Aliou Nyan, who is the Director of Programs and Resource Mobilization. I didn't mention. And then we also have Mr. Lamin Fati, who is a Communication and Media Officer. I'm hoping that I have covered members of my staff here. And I will now finish. Yes, Ms. Jacqueline Jarganjai, who is our Executive Assistant, my humble self, Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, and I'm sure the one on whom all the cameras are focused, our Honorable Chair, Mr. Emmanuel Daniel Diouf. So, to make it quick, what we intend to do now is I will give the floor to the Honorable Chairperson, who will take some time to give a statement on which you will get the overview of the National Human Rights Commission's mandates, highlight of achievements in 2019, challenges and lessons that we learned. And then following that, we will invite the Honorable Vice Chairperson, who will now officially present to you the annual reports. And then we will open the floor for questions and answers from the press. And when we arrive there, we will probably appeal for order. So we will probably need a way of organizing it in such a way that each press or representative from a media house would have the opportunity to ask a question and allow the others during the period. And once we have that done, we will then go on for closing remarks coming from one of our distinguished commissioners, Commissioner Yundu Drame, and that would end the press conference for today. So thank you very much. I think without much ado, I therefore invite the Honorable Chairperson, Mr. Emmanuel Daniel Diouf, who will now give his statement. Mr. Diouf. Especially where you landed, that the press is an indispensable partner in our effort to promote human rights. Why? Because I'm sure some of them might have been too young, but for those who were here in the early 90s, when the Daily Observer just started, and when Radio 1 FM of Christensen just started, those were the times, and Citizen FM of Babukar Gay, those were the times when people needed to be enlightened, to be sensitized, to be awakened. It was an indispensable element of our development. And the press plays a very important role in ensuring that people are aware of their rights and they also take ownership of those rights. And this is why when you said that we will be working with the press, I think you really meant it in the literal sense. It's not just by calling them to press conferences. We want the press also to take ownership of the promotion of human rights and also to ensure that we have the culture of human rights. Because the press is one of those that suffer most when it comes to atrocities that happen in the previous government. And if you don't want to be silenced, it is good that the people that have to be educated, not to silence you, are educated. And this is why it's important that we become partners, that we play the role to ensure that the policy of the culture of human rights is really streamlined across the whole nation, across all peoples, of all languages, of all tribes, etc. So, before I invite the Honorable Vice Chair, let me just say one or two points. Yes. Just to inform you about one or two things, it is important to understand also that because of the nature of communicating with the Commission, the efforts are being made to have a toll-free number. We have not yet concluded that part. I'm sure we will have it disseminated quickly. The toll-free number would allow anybody with any line to call the Commission when they have a complaint. But at the same time, it would be important before we finish to also inform you that our website is now up and running, and that even for some of you who might need electronic copy of this report that we will be launching today, which will come up probably before the end of the week, the electronic copy. You will have it on the website, and I'm sure you will find the website address everywhere here, even on the annual report itself. And that's luckily for us, even the complaints mechanism now has been put on the website. In case you are away or in Basse and somebody complains to the press that they want to submit a complaint of human rights abuse, you can say, don't worry. You can even show them on the website how it can be done. So these are important elements that need to be noted before we complete the process. The Honorable Vice Chair is going to present to you the annual reports. I'm sure you will also understand that we were not only developing an annual report, but we were also developing several documents that are of importance to our mandates, but also to the nation. So, Honorable Vice Chair, you are respectfully invited to take the floor to do the presentation of the annual report.
Maybe before that, if they were Executive Secretary for those introductory words, Madam Vice Chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission, Commissioners present here, our AU expert consultant, staff of the National Human Rights Commission present, and members of the press present here, media. We welcome you all, and I welcome you on behalf of the National Human Rights Commission to our press briefing today, which the Executive Secretary has just explained to you. The objective is to talk to you about our annual report, our mandate, and who we are. And perhaps some of you have followed us. Some maybe don't know much about what we do and how we came into being. So I'll just use this opportunity today. They say the press is it the fourth estate, and so that we can have a discussion, so that you can have a full understanding of what the National Human Rights Commission is all about. And just to take you quickly back to memory lane, if you remember in 2017, some of you will remember the National Human Rights Commission Act was passed. And in 2018, it received the presidential assent. And on the 14th of February 2019, 5 commissioners were sworn into office. That was sometime last year. And they were sworn into office, as I always say, with nothing but their appointment letters as commissioners. In other words, even an office we didn't have. We didn't have any tools to do our work. So this is where we're coming from. But perhaps it was therefore left to the commissioners themselves to build up the secretariat. And it was only in August, July, August of last year that we were able to get a fully functional secretariat and also even an office. We only was able to get a rented office in October of last year. So this is where we're coming from. But perhaps I should maybe start delving on the Commission. What is the Commission's mandate? Who we are? Well, the National Human Rights Commission, as I said, was established by an act of the National Assembly. Most of the time, people think that we are a civil society organization, some think that we are a government entity. We are not. The act is very clear as to who we are. It is an independent institution. In most jurisdictions, there is what is known as the National Human Rights Commission. And their mandate is clearly spelled out. They are independent of government. But just to quickly perhaps tell you our function, Our main function is to promote and protect human rights in the Gambia. This is the mandate that has been given to this institution. And in doing so, we have been mandated by law to monitor, to receive, investigate, and consider complaints of human rights violation in the Gambia. We also are mandated to recommend appropriate remedial action to the government and to seek appropriate redress on behalf of complainants. We are mandated to promote awareness and respect for human rights, and this we do through conducting public awareness and education programs, undertaking studies, publishing guidelines and manuals. We also organize international and national seminars. We review existing human rights legislation and make recommendations to the government concerning the compliance of the existing legislation with our international obligations, that is our treaties and convention. So the annual work plan that is being presented to you today gives you an overview of what we did during the period in which the commissioners were sworn in, and especially since we had a fully functional secretariat. So this is what this report, this annual report, is telling you about. What we scan. It is a requirement under It is a requirement under the National Human Rights Commission Act that every year we come before Parliament to explain to Parliament what our findings were, what is the situational analysis of the human rights situation in the country, but not only, and also to present a financial report also to them. But not also that the Act says that we should disseminate as widely as possible our findings. And this is why we have this press briefing, so that you can understand, and at the end of it, we will also give you copies of our findings during the 2019. So what we're going to talk about, or what I'm going to talk about, will mainly centered about the situational analysis in 2019, but also we will look at projections as to where we're heading to as a National Human Rights Commission in 2020. So, so what human rights? The question that people quickly ask all the time is, but what human rights are you talking about? What human rights is the National Human Rights Commission investigating, monitoring? Again, the point of reference is very simple here. The human rights we're talking about is not human rights that is invented by the National Human Rights Commission. The human rights we're talking about is the human rights that are enshrined in Chapter 4 of our 1997 Constitution. There is a whole chapter on fundamental rights and freedom. So we take our cue from those rights, and these are the rights we talk about. These are the rights we're advising the government on. These are the rights that are enforceable. But not only that, apart from those rights, you also know that no country lives in isolation. The government of the Gambia, it's a party to many international and regional conventions, human rights conventions and treaties. So the National Human Rights Commission, therefore, advises, it is mandated to advise the government to look at our existing laws so that the government can review the laws that we have so that they are in conformity with our international obligation. And that is what we also do. And you will discover that we have started doing what we call advisory notes, apart from advising the government, but advising the government, looking at laws that needs and policies that need to be developed, laws that need to be enacted to be in conformity with international and regional human rights standards. So what am I talking about? When we talk about the human rights that the National Human Rights Commission it's upholding, these are our fundamental rights and freedom, economic, social, and cultural rights, civil and political rights, for example. Today, we talk about our respect for civil liberties. These are the rights that we stand for and we advocate. Right to fair trial, peaceful assemblies, freedom of expression, which is very dear to you people as members, not only to you people, to everybody. Because our primary mandate is to promote. By promoting, you have to raise awareness. If you do not have freedom of expression, how can you even raise the awareness of anybody relating to human rights? So these are the fundamental rights and freedoms, civil political rights, the right to vote. These are rights that are enshrined in our Constitution, but also rights to education, right to quality education, right of women, rights of people with disabilities, right to quality health care, clean drinking water, employment, regardless of ethnicity or gender. A very important right that we will go through very soon again, the right to vote. So these are, but our National Human Rights Institution looks at all the gamut of rights: economic, social rights, civil and right to development. These are rights that we champion as a national institution. So it is very important that we get it very clear at this level what we are talking about. We do not invent rights. We uphold rights that are in the Constitution and that are in the treaties and conventions that the Gambia has actually ratified or is a party to. Perhaps quickly, although you will be given copies of the report, but perhaps quickly, in 2019, you will find that our report is divided into two parts. The first part looks at the situational analysis. In other words, by looking at those rights that I've talked about right now, where are we? What have we observed? Where are we with those rights? And you'll discover that we looked at those rights, respect for civil liberties. You'll see that in our report, we have scanned the environment. Perhaps I should inform you that since October, we have the National Human Rights Commission had kick-started what is called the individual complaints mechanism, where individuals who feel that their human rights were actually violated can actually come to the National Human Rights Commission. There is a procedure, there is a process in place where they can actually lodge a complaint, and the complaint will be investigated by our legal and investigation department. So during this period, we looked at issues involving all these rights. We had investigated. I will not have time to go into all this, but we have investigated on our own, as the lawyers will say, suo motu. On our own volition, we have our eyes on the ground, well, the ears on the ground, our eyes are out there, and we have our investigators, and we have actually investigated issues, human rights violation. Some of you must have been following the case of the Usman Dabo case, which sparked of riots. I think it was in June and July. In June of last year, we did a thorough investigation, and we proffered recommendation to the Minister of Interior and the Office of the IGP. We've done that just recently. Well, in 2019, and the investigation is still ongoing. As members of the press, we got whiff of the crisis that was happening in the Upper River region, relating to the caste system in the Sarohule community, and I think even involved in the death of somebody. And we sent a commissioner. We dispatched a commissioner with an investigator to look at these things. So we have scanned the surface. Some of it was investigation we did. Some of it was review we did through the reports that we received from you. If you remember, in the early days, the time we didn't have a secretariat, there were certain remarks that were made by politicians relating to April 11 about demonstration and the risk of a repetition of April 11 and the showering of demonstrators with hot water. The Commission came out with a very strong statement to that effect, because this is what we have been mandated to to advise the government. We are an independent institution that has been mandated, but not only advise, because somebody asked me just the other day, do you just advise? We receive complaints, we monitor, we make a recommendation, but the commission is also empowered with quasi-judicial powers. What do I mean by that? If we receive complaint, we can summon the parties and they come before the commission, and the commission will hear, like a tribunal, a court of law, and we will make recommendations on our findings, which, according to the Act, are enforceable. We are new, and a lot of our work will be tested as we proceed. But I must say that to report to you that February, when we were sworn in, within a short space of time, we as a commission concentrated. Our biggest challenge during that period was to, if you have set up an institution before, you will know that it's difficult to set up an institution from ground zero. And this is where actually we were ground zero. We were housed by the, thanks to the UNTJ office, the United Nations Transitional Justice Project Office. That's where we were housed. That's where we had our meetings. The commissioners embarked on developing key policy documents so that we could actually catapult this commission. And I would again want to take this opportunity to thank my fellow commissioners. It's never easy. These were periods in which we argued, we differed, but we were able to come up with documents. We were able to come up with key documents that now governs the running of this, institution. So just to tell you where we came from during that period. But perhaps I should also inform you of one of the key things that we have done. We have a mandate to monitor. And monitoring places of detention and prisons. In December, the National Human Rights Commission embarked on a monitoring and fact-finding mission to the prisons in this country, from Mile 2 Central Prison to the Joshua Wing Prison to Janjambure and selected prisons throughout the country. We went there and we did a comprehensive study of what is actually on the ground. Was that, please consider, Mr. President, use your prerogative of mercy and decongest those prisons. And for prisoners who are not violent, who have not been convicted of a violent offense or of a sexual nature, and those that have been of good behavior and have served long, please release them. And I'm happy again to say that a couple of months, 2 months ago or so, or a month, over 115, I think they released 115 and then another 5, about 120 prisoners were also released. We're happy that this is our role, to scan the environment, to look at what is happening, and proffer advice to the government. This is what National Human Rights Commission will do, and it will continue to do as we move to 2020 and beyond. But not only that, we were visited by a group of businessmen who came to us and they explained how their livelihood, their economic rights were severely affected by the regulations that was passed through the state of emergency, closure of shops. And we actually wrote to the government again and said, well, we understand, but perhaps these things could be eased with restriction. And again, within 10 days or so, actually less than that, a week, some restrictions, it was lifted. And I think now hours were given for them to open and, non-essentials, they were given specific hours, but with conditions as to the number of people who could be in the shops. I'm highlighting this because this is the role of the Commission, and this is what we will continue to do as a Commission. But the 2019 report, which I have highlighted, is really a scan of what is there. But we also even looked at reports on human rights. For example, we have mentioned, if you look in the report, recommendations that were made, for example, by the Farababanta Commission, which we as a commission, when we looked at it, we still felt they need to be enforced. And they're still ongoing. As I tell you, matters relating to land, matters relating to mining, and we just felt that the government need to take heed of those recommendations and implement them. So these are the many issues that that you will find highlighted. These are some of the challenges, some of the achievements that you find in our report. But maybe, I don't know how long I have, 3-4 minutes, maybe, or I've exhausted the time.
4 minutes.
Yes, in conclusion. I would say that for 2020, we will want to work very closely with the press, and we have to. And in our work plan, just to tell you, we have already earmarked activities that we need to conduct with the press, because we cannot do it alone. We have to have partnership. You must have seen us the other day signing a memorandum of understanding with the National Council for Civic Education. We have to work closely with the press. We cannot disseminate and raise awareness without you. Perhaps one thing I forgot is that during 2019, one of the things that we did in order to promote human rights, because there's a lot of misconception about human rights that is Eurocentric. We went through the regions, the commissioners, executive secretary. We did a tour of all the regions where we had discussion with government officials, civil society, law enforcement, as to what our mandate was and what we want to do and where we are heading, because it's important that people know what we are here for. So we will have activities with the press, as I've said, and you are key to the job that we are going to do. We will coordinate also and conduct trainings with other civil society actors. Law enforcement, we cannot run away from them. We will be hand in gloves with them. We even have started working on a code of conduct for them. We, as I've mentioned, a 5-year strategic plan. But what is also important, that we cannot just talk about human rights or run human rights from a secretariat here. We need to decentralize. It is in our radar that we will decentralize. We'll have offices in the regions. Perhaps by the end of the year, we'll start with 1, maybe 2. So gradually, we will get there. As I said, our institution is work in progress. You see where we're coming from squatting, from being a squatter to now to being here. So we will also decentralize so that you cannot improve access to justice if you are not there with the people. So that the people of URR, the people of CRR, LRR, is not LRR now, I'm in the old school. It's division now. Oh, I'm right. Okay, I'm right. I was used to the divisions. We cannot improve access to justice. We cannot expect people, if they have a problem, to come all the way here from Basse. They must have a way of accessing the National Human Rights Commission. So it is in our grand plan to decentralize. So that we will do, just for your information to take away. But also we have realized something. And I'm happy that we have commissioners here who are really civil society orientation, and they understand the terrain. We have a vice chair who is very senior, has been with the African Commission. We have Imam Baba Lee, who needs no introduction. We have Commissioner Drane, who I've stopped introducing him. Whenever we go to places, this is our commissioner, they say Uncle Nyundu. So we have Uncle Nyundu here, who's deep into rights with disabilities. And whenever we talk, we streamline these things. What about disabilities? What are we doing for them? We sit here, listen, we're disseminating information. Do we have people who have sign language, expert in sign language? How do we expect them to understand what we say? What about the Braille? And so these are all things that the National Human Rights Commission is looking into. And produce in Braille format, sign language interpretation, so that we will not leave anybody out there. But we will continue, because we have discovered that the big challenge we've all seen, and it continues. I think we probably even underestimated that awareness raising and popularizing our mandate we should again put it as a priority. I think it will continue to be a priority so that people will know what we stand for, and then we'll raise the awareness of the people so that they can understand what these human rights issues are, so that they can claim them. And you have been very generous to your chair. You allowed me to go on and on. But I must say, on behalf of my national, I don't want to say my, but I will say it, my National Human Rights Commission and the commissioners present, we really welcome you. And we hope that this is just the beginning of engagement, that we will have to work together. The press will always be with us, but I'm sure we'll try and avoid our misunderstanding by talking, kachai, more and more, which we'll do. And on that note, I again thank you all for being present. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
That for the conclusion. We'll leave that for the conclusion. I was asking us what I would like to add. No, I don't think so, yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. And like Chair says, we welcome you, the press. I always say, as a Human Rights Commission, whether it's at the international level or the local level, if you don't have the press working side by side with you, then it's the people who lose, the people we're supposed to protect. And when I say side by side, it's not like supporting one or the other, but disseminating information to the people and making them understand how to enjoy the very rights that the Constitution has given them. And I guess the collaboration from this point will continue. There's so many issues. ES was trying to bring in other issues, complaints, procedure. I'm sure we will have more pressers, more press briefings with you people so that you could also help us disseminate what work has been done so far. Today, what has brought us is this annual report. This was the report we submitted to the National Assembly last Friday. It's part of our mandate that at the end of every year, we're supposed to come up with a report talking about our activities, what we have done, what we were short of doing, advice to government if any human rights abuse, if government has abused any human rights recommendations, and that's exactly what this report has done. It's divided into two parts, basically. Chair has touched on it, so I won't go, I don't want to go into details because you will all be given copies later. But the first part was more the respect for human rights. And we made sure we went through the 1997 Constitution where we looked at all the rights that everybody in this country is entitled to. We looked at the civil and political, and we even looked at socio-economic, even though, unlike this new Constitution, they were not clearly stated in the 1997 Constitution. And just briefly, there were the civil liberties. There was the right to, Chair in talking just now, talk about the Jotna, the 3 years Jotna issue where we had to call in the ministers, the two ministers involved, information and justice, to sit and have some discourse. So at the end of the day, the people will be allowed to undergo a peaceful protest. If you look at what is happening around the world today, just somebody dies, somebody is killed rather, and the whole world is up in arms. In some of our African countries, you dare not just mobilize and go out into the streets. You'll be shot, you'll be killed. In other countries, you see people mobilize. Once you don't trespass, once you don't loot, you don't hurt other people, they leave you to protest. And that's what we as a commission will continue to fight for in the Gambia, if we can get that going. We also, there was the rights of children, people with disability, right to health, right to water and sanitation, unemployment. We even talked about the corruption and environmental rights. We talked about government bringing back the anti-corruption or at least enforcing the Anti-Corruption Act. So there were so many issues involved there. And I'm sure National Assembly, they're still reading this document to digest where we are coming from and the recommendations. And for some of them, they were fact-finding missions. We were able to go to certain areas. Like I said, I don't want to go into detail. It's going to take the whole day. But if you, I really suggest, I really urge all of you, when you get this report, just sit and read it. Read it and read, especially the recommendations, so that you can help us direct government to do what is right for the citizens. That's what this whole activity report is about. This is the first time we have a Human Rights Commission. It's never happened before. There was the Ombudsman, which was more administrative and a little bit of human rights. But for the first time over the years, I know since 1980s, we had been clamoring like other countries to have a national Human Rights Commission independent of government, but working hand in hand with government and working hand in hand with the civil society, which includes the press, to make sure that our citizens, or everybody, in fact, the Constitution is not just for citizens, but everybody who lives within the Gambia should be able to enjoy the basic rights, God-given rights. As is not so, and what we tell government most of the time is everybody should be free to wake up, breathe the air that God has given you, go to work, get a decent job if possible. Even where you don't get a decent job, even where you steal, the police should just not catch you, beat you up. They have no right to beat anybody up or torture. There's a due process. Because you are not part of my caste system, I don't have the right to come into your house, demolish your house, and say because you're not part of my tribe or you're not part of my religion, I have a right to beat you. You have no right. Even the state does not have that right. If you commit a crime, there is a process. Within 72 hours, you must be charged, and you should be charged. And these are all the issues. The issues are so varied that we have to now work hand in hand with government, work with the police, work with the prisons. We're in the prisons. The chair talked about this, all part of this report, where we saw the state of the prisons, and we're trying to get government to renovate and make it better. Because when I was in the African Commission, I used to tell colleagues, at the end of the day, you don't know who will be in that prison. With some of the governments we have, we might find ourselves behind bars, and you don't want to be locked in a room of 2 people where you have 50 in a room. It's not right. There are certain things that are not right, for which we would like government to amend. And we need the press. It's not going to be an easy ride. We all know that there are times there might be conflict, there might be even misinterpretation and misperceptions. But we feel free as a commission to come and ask and talk to us. Our doors are open. I don't think we've had any incident of any press that has called and we have not answered. I know my chairman is always ready to talk to the press and the ES. The last time, I think even Jundu did a program with the press. I don't think we have ever said no to the press. So feel free where you have a story and you're not sure of how to report it. You come, because you see, one little headline can create war. Let me put it in brackets, war. It can cost somebody their life for no reason. And by the time you know it, it's too late. It's happened in so many countries. One little headline can cost somebody their life. So always be sure that before you want to sell that paper and make that headline, that you are thinking about the next man who is going to affect. Our job we have to do, we know it's not going to be an easy job. When all of us took the oath, we said human rights is not like, it's so different from politics. In human rights, you have to be just. You have to be fair. You have to tell the truth. You might weigh the options, but you cannot run away from the reality. Because the moment we start doing that, it's as if we're taking sides, and we're not here to take sides. And I think from the first day we start, the government has realized that I think we have put a strong team here, force we have to reckon with. Because we make it clear, even to the president, we were there some time ago, that there are times we would not, you might find us that we are being difficult or we are being tough. But we are trying to have a better Gambia, which we are all praying for. 22 years of the former regime, we don't want to go there. And may God, in his mighty power, not make us go back, where people were not sleeping at night, where people were molested for no reason, where people were tortured, people were dragged from their homes. I have people I knew who were dragged from their homes and just sent to jail, sat there for years. You were tortured because you were not like me. You were tortured because you did not have my religion, or because we don't come from the same caste. These are things that are still happening. People's lands were taken from them for no reason, and that is what has brought The Sanyang is on, Father Babanta was there, Katong is ongoing, and God knows, and I think yesterday I saw the Sukuta people and the Kombokundas or something. So it's all over now, and these are all tensions mounting. So let's work together and see how best we can ease tension within the country. Tensions are already high, and your headlines can either explode it or bring it down. This is the report. You all be given a copy of the report. And apart from this annual report, apart from the human rights issues we mentioned, we've also talked about the various activities, and Chair, of course, has touched on most of them. It's here. In the same vein, by the activities we did, like the monitoring prisons, detention, we've come up with what we saw and recommendations to the government. This is one on the detention prisons. This is the executive summary that came from their monitoring prisons. We had to do them in handbooks. So all of you will get copies. And then we have the advisory note, the one I just talked about, right to freedom of association and assembly, which a lot of people were fighting for. 3 years, Jotna was in the middle of some of it. Then the advisory note on sexual harassment. We know the issue before the TRRC recently of girls and women who are being harassed. They don't have a voice to speak. And some of them have sent anonymous messages and complaints to the commission. And we are also looking into it, except that the TRRC has taken the forefront in that perspective. So as you go through these documents, one thing I can urge, and we're going to give you copies. If you have any problems, want any clarification, feel free, please feel free. Any of us on this table and our staff, we have senior staff over there, we are open and we will welcome any clarifications. I thank you all very much. Later, I think the communications director will see how best she will send these documents to you if you can't get it. They're on their way, but in case it doesn't get here before you leave, we'll make sure each of you get for your institutions and your departments. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you. I guess we've come to the end of this presser. The chairperson and everybody has said the common cliche that the media is the fourth estate. But for us, the National Human Rights Commission, the media is actually the main bulwark against dictatorship and tyranny. It's also the pillar on which democracy and good governance rest. So the media is absolutely very important. You are the eye, the ear, and the mouth of the public. I'm sure you know this. You have heard this. I guess it was Jefferson who said, if he had a choice between a government without newspapers and newspapers without government, he would choose the latter. He would choose newspapers without government. And I think that only shows how important the media is for democracy and good governance. And why the media is also very important for the National Human Rights Commission. The media and the National Human Rights Commission, we are condemned to live together as bedfellows. Our two institutions, our two bulwarks of democracy. We need the media to popularize our work. We need the media to hold us to account on behalf of the people. But the media also need the National Human Rights Commission when the media is at the receiving end, when the media is attacked by other people, when the media's rights are curtailed, when media practitioners are at the receiving end. The Human Rights Commission is the body that is well placed to protect all you people. But we also depend on the media for our human rights monitoring work. Quite a lot of the information we get, we actually get it from the media. So you give us information. When rights is violated, the first people that actually get the information is the media. And so you can also serve as referral for us, telling us where the flashpoints are, whose rights are violated, in which communities and where, and how the National Human Rights Commission can ensure that those rights, the violators face the full wrath of the law, and the violated have their rights remedied, so to speak. So we would have to have that symbiotic relationship. We'll have to work together. I'm sure some of you know this biblical thing. When Moses went to Mount Sinai to meet God, all what God asked him was, what is in your hand? And it was a stick. And that was what Moses used to liberate his people. So maybe we are also asking you, what is in your hand? You may have a mic, you may have a pen, you may have a paper. How do you use that to ensure that the work of the National Human Rights Commission is popularized, but people understand what their rights are, people understand what the mandate of the National Human Rights Commission, how they can access it, and what we can do. So I think for me it's important all the time that we are able to ask that question for all of us. What is in our hands? So we hope that this presser would be the beginning of a great collaboration and partnership, and absolutely important. It's not supposed to be the partnership between the pig and the hen. There was once a time when the pig and the hen wanted to have a partnership, a kind of a collaboration. And the piglet said he's going to sacrifice the pork. And the hen said it was going to bring to the partnership eggs. And so when the piglet went home and asked the mom, I've entered into a partnership with the hen. And the mom said, what are you going to contribute to this business? And the pig said, pork. I'll give the pork. I'll provide the pork. And the hen would provide the egg. And the mother said, do you know what partnership you are entering? To provide the pork, you will have to be killed. And the hen would have nothing to lose apart from laying the eggs. So that's not going to be a good relationship. So our relationship is not supposed to be one where we gag the press. That is not our role. And that it would not be in our best interest. Our best interest is to ensure that the press has the latitude. And that's why we made all these recommendations in our annual report in the state of human rights. So that you have the environment. We enlarge the space, the public space. We enlarge the rights for the media. But in return, you can also ensure that people know what our work is and what support we can give them. So as I said, our annual report, especially the state of human rights in the Gambia, is a checklist, is a monitoring framework. And we hope that by the end of 2020, you would hold us accountable for the implementation of the recommendations, but you will also hold the state accountable for the implementation of the recommendations. And I hope that if we do that, we would have a great partnership. And as they say, when you are not sure, I'm sure you know this as journalists, when you are not sure of a headline of a story, you either leave it out or you seek clarification. And so we hope that on any other matter that relates to human rights, whether it's information emanating from the National Human Rights Commission or it's information from outside, but that deals with human rights, and you are not sure of its implication, you are not sure of what it's of the merit of that particular case, that you refer to the National Human Rights Commission. We have a fully fledged, experienced, well-landed legal and investigation team to actually provide you the needed legal advice, or ethical advice relating to that issue. Finally, as General Wellington told his men at the Battle of Waterloo, forward all over the line. I think it should be also forward all over the line for all of us in our fight for human rights. Thank you very much. And great.
The commissioners are fired up, all of them. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, to throw away the plethora of questions that you have. But because the chair has suggested commissioners have something to say, and Commissioner Imam Babali wants to also take the floor
he
a few
wants to
minutes
take, okay.
to say something. So I would like Imam Babali to say that first. And then we will have the Q&A for about 20 minutes.
He wants it? He can take it.
Between 15 and 20 minutes. I'll give you the criteria of the Q&A so that we will maximize on that before we get to the closing remarks. So if you want to bring the mics, please do that quickly.
إلى للقدر من الشيطان الرجيم ثم الصلاة والسلام على مبعوث رحمة للعالمين. Thank you, our able chair, for giving me the floor. As he rightly say, Imam Babali need to say something, and I'm sure you need me to say something as well. So being the case, I'll start by apologizing to all media houses in the country and some out of the country even, because I have a lot of calls for the last 2 weeks requesting to have an interview with me, and I refuse. Yes, I refuse for a reason. I refuse for one thing. I cannot keep offering interview to all media houses whenever they want it, because I have time for myself, for my family, for my religion. Yes, I said no, I am not going to talk to them at that given time. I'm sorry for that. It's not my nature, but situation is forcing me to behave like that at times. Number two, I said no simply because all their questions is about the National Human Rights Commission. And the National Human Rights Commission is an institution that well organized, and they have everything in place, and they have their spokesperson. And the questions they want me to discuss with them always should be properly answered by the spokesperson who happened to be the chairman. I said no. Yes, I said no simply because there are certain issues that I don't need to comment on them, because most of them came from some people who, in my view, are relevant hunters, are looking to become relevant. And it is well known, Imam Babali is a name of itself, it's a house name that many people, if they want to become relevant in the society, they attack Imam Babali or people like Imam Babali. So it is high time for me to be matured enough to respond to people who deserve to be responded to. Because Gambia being a small society, we all know ourselves, we know each other very well, and we know the strugglers of popularities in our society. And to use Imam Babali, that can earn them what they need. I want to say a few words here. Number one, Gambia is not an island. Gambia is part of the world community. And Gambia is a signatory and member to all institutions, including UN Human Rights Commission, including United Nations, including Commonwealth, including AU, including ECOWAS. And all these institutions have their membership and their quality. Do you or can you ask the Saudi National Human Rights Commission to withdraw simply because in the UN there are people who advocate rights for others that we are not compatible with? Do you ask the Gambia as a government, as a conservative country, as a predominantly religious country, to withdraw their membership from ECOWAS? Do you? No. Do you ask them to withdraw their membership or resign from AU because of AU is a signatory to certain conventions which are not compatible with our countries and our norms? So here, some are asking Imam Babali to resign from the National Human Rights Commission today and only today, forgetting Imam Babali was an activist, a right activist, a human rights activist for the best part of his life, since in the 80s, when Imam Babali became a member of the BAFRO, an organization that fights for the right of women. up to 1986, when Imam Babali became a founder member of Gamko Tribe, struggling with them, fighting for the right of those who are voiceless, speaking for those who have no opportunity to speak for themselves, speaking for women who are mutilated for traditional reasons. Baba was there fighting for them. Baba was there fighting for those who are arrested illegally, without due process, tortured, some killed in those days, till Baba himself became a victim of what he believed in. He was not asked at that time to resign, because there was nothing lucrative for Baba to be forced to resign. Baba was fighting for those people till Baba became an exile, an asylee in a foreign countries, for the reason of what he believed in and what he was fighting for. Today, Baba is asked to resign from National Human Rights Commission because Baba became an imam and a commissioner. What a jealousy is that? What selfishness is that? What ignorance is that? And you have Muhammad Saudi in the National Human Rights Commission in Saudi Arabia as a Muslim who pray far more than what I pray, who believe in Muhammad far more than me. Nobody asked him to resign. You have many Muslims all over the world as human rights activists. But unfortunately, it came from somebody who are dearly respect, who are dearly believe is educated, who are dearly believe is well-connected internationally, who knows what is happening all over the world, asking me to because I'm a Muslim. Forgetting that all organizations need somebody who represents the word of the Almighty God in their organizations to enlighten when it is needed, but to preach when preaching is needed, but to call for mediation and reconciliation of mankind as brothers, as one family when needed. And the Gambia and Gambians and our parliamentarians feel there is nobody who qualifies more than Imam Babali. I was elected, selected, scrutinized. Am I qualified to run this position? The whole country say yes. I become a member of the Commission of National Human Rights in the Gambia. One individual, so unfortunate, whom I have nothing in common to fight, whom I have nothing in common to exchange words, asking Imam Babali to resign from this important commission. A commission where I feel I can help my nation, but I can help human life, but I can help everybody who needs my help. Here I am. I'm just coming from Diabugu Batapa, CRR, working hardly day and night on the very hot sun to make sure families and brothers are sharing one roof for worshiping, are sharing one village for their common good. There is somebody who asked Imam Babali not to do that, or not to accept the facilitation that is facilitated for Imam Babali. Because Imam Babali become the winner of International Human Rights Defenders Award in 2013. Jealousy grew. That's why I think I need to say something. And that is what I'm saying. Human rights is far beyond, far more than what they call same-sex marriage, what they call, how to call it again, gay. Our human right is far beyond that. But they forgot or they don't know. The Almighty God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, said in the Holy Quran, "A'ati kullu zi haqqin haqqahu." Give the right to each and every one, the right he deserves to be given. Being an idol worshipper, being a gay, being whatever he is, he's a human being. He has what he deserves. Whatever crime he commits, he should be treated as a human being. Even if the criminal kills somebody, he should be arrested, due process must be observed, and he must be treated as a human being. So being the case, I unfortunately find myself become the biggest victim of National Human Rights Commission because of my name, because of my faith, and I'm not the only Muslim that work for National Human Rights Commission in different countries all over the world. This is what I have to say. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. First of all, when you are going to speak, you will have to raise your hand, introduce yourself, and give your the media that you represent. I have to write that down so that I write the name of some of those who are presenting questioning. If you represent a media, you are allowed to ask only one question at a time, so that we allow others also to maximize. If there are no other questions and the second round comes to you, that is fine during the period we have. Now, if somebody asks a question you wanted to ask, please do not ask that question because we will not answer it, so that we save time and allow more questions to be asked. And then you are required to ask a question. You are not required to make a lecture. So don't come and make a lecture here, please, so that we have a lot of people asking as many questions as possible. Now remember, you should ask only one question, right? And then I will encourage gender parity, meaning that if I have a question from a gentleman, I would prefer having a question from a lady too, in the event that there is a lady on the floor. If there is not, then we can move on to another gentleman. If only ladies are asking, then we will only have only ladies asking. That is it. So this is the rule. These are the rules. I am now going to ask you to raise your hand if you have a question. Give me your name first and your press. I will write it first. Now that the Sankoli, Janko, W-A-D-R. Okay. Usman Mane, GRTS. GRTS what? TV or radio? Okay, well, no. I wanted to give the radio an opportunity and the TV an opportunity. But no, it's okay, Thank God. Okay, next. Yes. Aissatou Diallo, Gambian Talents TV. Okay, yes. Mohammed El Bojan. Mamus. Yes. Omar Ba. Standard. Yes. Too many Omar Fullers. Omar B. Jalo. QTV.
As reignite the movement for the Commission to do more work when it comes to sensitizing Gambians to understand these issues and the job of the Commission. Because the Human Rights Commission should be, let me say, it's bold enough. It's the first commission to come all out and talk about LGBT, clearly spelled out in a paragraph. This is for the first time. So, you know, is it important that you...
Quickly, let me just answer your question. You see, the thing is, if you sensationalize, you see, you know, if you live in a country, and this is also where the press comes in. I know you need to sell newspapers, but if the story is sensationalized, to give that impression, you know, with the picture there and you just gave, that's what all people read. There is a lot of work. You yourself, you know, you started the story, and the social online media ran with it, and it was all over the place. All the things that they said we espouse. So the work that you're talking about, the sensitization you're talking about, we needed to go do it with you. As you splash it there, out there, your chief editor, which gave the wrong impression. This is how you should again come to start explaining these issues. So yes, just to answer your question, there is a lot of work, not only in that area. We are a very conservative society. We have issues relating to tribe, relating to religion, bigotry. During the CRC, if you read the issues that came out, then it makes you worry that it's a society that we need to talk. We need to engage in discussion and dialogue. So I'm just agreeing with you, but also if you sensationalize, this is what Gambians do. They don't read. So I throw it back to you. You need to do a lot of work. Human Rights Commission is here to defend the rights of vulnerable groups. Maybe that's a better headline. Human Rights Commission has made 191 recommendations. 91 recommendations. You know.
That was what I said initially.
Yeah. So, but they know.
Yes, you cannot have a whole 60-page book.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure at the time, and maybe even with this presser, might have another press, we might have another
Yes.
press briefing, because you're just getting this report. That's why I urge all of you to go and read it. But at the time, I'm not sure, I understand Standard even had a copy of this report.
No, they came for it.
Yes, they
the
came
day
to
before.
and say yes, but you could have said, you know, we had made recommendations as to 20
No. In his
rights
inside his
or 50
report.
rights.
Let me help you, BC.
But only one right was picked up, and that's what created
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just
Anyway,
picked up-
Omar, I think the whole point is it was not your article. It was your headline. Your article was fine. We
Yeah,
didn't
it was
have a problem
fine.
with it. But
But he
it was your headline.
even
No,
quoted
that's
me.
fine. That's okay. That's okay. No, that's okay. That's okay. We are not complaining.
Clear one thing here.
No.
Commission, I called commission.
Yes.
I called him.
No.
And I warn you.
It's okay. It's okay.
But anyway, let's move on.
Omar Bijalo.
Sabari.
Omar Bijalo. Where's Omar Bijalo? Yes, Omar Bijalo. QTV. Yes, please, go ahead.
Good afternoon.
And please, there are a lot of things I think you can ask. All the questions asked, please, let's move on so that we finish this.
Okay, good afternoon once again. I think a solution to this problem, you have it at your disposal. But I want to know if you really have plans to employ those available solutions to solve this problem of misquoting you or misconception of the society towards you for your mandate. You repeatedly, all of you repeatedly mentioned the inevitable role that the media has to play in helping you actually realize or actualize your mandate. Yeah. But you have not tell us what plans, whether you have plans to train us, because we will continue to misquote you.
Actually, I did mention.
We will continue to misquote you as long as we are not.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Mr. Ba, what's his name? Omar Jallo.
Okay.
Omar Jallo, calm down. I think you must have had a heavy breakfast. You're too excited.
Now it's okay.
No, let's just finish it. Let's just finish it. If when I was giving my statement, I mentioned the importance of the press, and this is the beginning. I have mentioned that even in our work plan, in the work plan that the National Human Rights Commission has, we are going to engage with the press. We conduct training. We are partners. So all these things will be part of the package. The press will be our ally. We have to do this together. We cannot do awareness raising without you guys. And this is the beginning. That's why we call you here after going to Parliament. You're the first group of civil society that we call to sensitize you about our report. You want to add something?
Yeah, I think the press work is difficult because maintaining a balance between the public's right to know and the rights of people. It's like skating on thin ice. It's very difficult. Very difficult. So you have someone has this study. Should I publish? Didn't I publish? What should be the headline? What shouldn't be the headline? And the public needs to know. But you also have some obligation. It's difficult. And that's why in quite a lot of media houses, you are guided by a code of conduct that guides you on ethical reporting. I'm sure you guys know that. You have a GPU code of conduct. On ethical reporting of children's issues, on ethical reporting of women's issues, on your own code of conduct, it guides you. It's difficult. We would be there. We would be there as we mature in our relations. And certainly, we would have a series of workshops for the youth.
Absolutely.
Really, on how you even report human rights issues.
Yeah. No, we have plans for that.
So we have a lot of plans. And probably a series of a sustained relationship.
Thank you. Can we invite Yeroba from Mansa Banco? Mansa Banco.
My question
Was answered.
Was answered.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know. I think
Yankuba
Commissioner
Jallo
Dane
Oforoya.
sealed it.
Can we have Yankuba Jallo Oforoya? Yes, Yankuba. Protest?
Yes. Peaceful assembly, peaceful procession. Yes. Well, it is part of one of the advisory note. Yes, and actually, Commissioner Drame did mention it. We're moving away from the issue of permit to notification. The Public Order Act. We know that there is already a bill to amend it. We encourage the government. We've made recommendation that they should amend it from. So it's there as well.
Omar, I think the press is about. We made about 4 recommendations to as far as the press is concerned.
Or the press.
Freedom of press, of speech and expression. The Public Order Act. They are decriminalized a lot of other things. Also to ensure that they pass the Access to Information Act as quickly as possible. But even the amendments, that they should be made public so that the press understands what laws are being amended and have a discussion on it with the press. So about 4 recommendations actually only on that human rights of the media.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you are all itching to go and get these reports out on TV tonight and on the papers tomorrow. I'm about to close. I've got my list ready. Do you have 1 or 2 more questions from? You have 1. Anybody else? No, we have only Usman Mani
and then
of
close.
GRTS. Okay, Usman Mani, you have given permission for another question. And that is the last one. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, we understand that you presented your report to the National Assembly in 2019.
Yes.
And the chairman did mention of a 5-year strategy for plan.
Yes.
To work with stakeholders.
Yes.
And we have seen at times where National Assembly members of a specific committee, going against issues that are not in the law. Because we've seen that, you believe that you misquoted you people. And there are instances, National Assembly members, in fact, misquoted the Constitution. Now that you have that relationship with the National Assembly Committee on Human Rights, what plans do you have for them to train those members, to make them understand your role and responsibility, for them not to make us misinformed people?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. The oversight function, the body that has oversight function on the National Human Rights Commission is the National Assembly, in particular the Standing Committee. We already have established rapport and good relationship, and they have actually summoned us on 2 occasions to go and talk to them, even about amendments of laws relating to the National Human Rights Commission. But also in our annual work plan, in the plan that we have for this year, had it not been for COVID-19, we would have had a series of engagements with them. So just to tell you that we will be having engagements with the Standing Committee of the Standing Committee of the, what is it called? On Human Rights and Constitutional Affairs. Yes, and we'll be engaging with them. So be rest assured that issues relating to the human rights, constitution, international treaties, review of the laws, we'll be discussing with them.
Thank you very much. I guess we have now come to the end of the press conference. It is fitting at this stage to invite our Honorable Commissioner Yondo Drame to give you the closing remarks. Knowing him, he's not going to take a long time to do that. Thank you very much.
Don't be too sure. He's fired up.
He is fired up.
You know what they say? It's my time in court.
It's your timing.
Then you have to stand.
You can abuse the time then. King Aissatou Diallo of Gambia Talent to start our question.
Good afternoon. I am Aissatou Diallo, Gambian Talents TV. Recently, we have seen a picture going viral on social media on which Honorable Emmanuel urged the government, Barrow's government, to promote and protect LGBT in the country. And we did a vox pop on that, in which Gambia overreacted and shows anger, in which...
Question.
Yes, in
question.
which cases it's not allowed.
Yes, question.
So what is your reaction to that, and how are you going to handle that situation? Because we know promoting that is part of your mandate, it's part of human right.
You want me to answer straight?
You want me to take all?
No, maybe I should. Yeah, well, I think that caption was wrong to start with. So it's very difficult to say that I was reported as stating that I'm promoting. And this is the way I was made to understand, because I even stopped reading the distortion on social media. You heard what we say. You know the rights. We defend fundamental rights and freedoms of people. And to say that I went promoting a particular right. It was not, it was, I didn't go to promote a particular right as it is said.
Okay, I want to correct
No, just allow him to finish. You ask your question, you should answer.
Yes. So it has been brought to my notice, just as you said, that we were even at the State House promoting certain rights. No, State House, actually. It has gone further than that. So these are stories that come out. But that is why people, you cannot stop what people say, especially if they want to distort. That was why we felt that we bring you here and we tell you the human rights that the National Human Rights promotes and protects. So forget about all those things that were said. It was never true.
Okay, Sankole Jango, number 2.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my question is, you said that the report looks at the overview of the human rights state in the Gambia.
Yes.
I want you to tell me, what is the human rights state in the Gambia in 2019? Are we improving? Have we improved from the prejudice? That's what I want to know as a country. And I'm sorry, I'll have to add up to that. Is it included in the report that you presented to the National Assembly to promote the gay rights as well? In the report, I'm not saying you in person.
That question has been asked. So we are going in for your first question.
Okay.
No, you will get the report. No, you will get the report.
Yes, but
Yes.
No, sorry. I'm coordinating. No, I'm coordinating. No, you asked whether it's included in the report. You are going to get the report. No, you will get the report. Let him answer the first question.
Okay, it's okay. I'll answer.
Sorry.
Okay, right.
Sorry. No.
Yes. Okay.
Please, somebody. We want this to be ordered.
If you look at the report, can we have some silence? Can we have one meeting? If you look at the report, as I said, we scan the environment, area of civil liberties. We have actually said things like enforced disappearance, unlawful arrest and detention. It has definitely improved. You cannot really compare what used to be and what is. We've done that. And then that was why we even proffered recommendation, and the government has actually acted. For example, even although that happened in 2020, but the radio station, who else could during the past call on 2 ministries, and at the end you open radio station. So when we scan the environment, it has improved. But there is much more needs to be done to improve. We also looked at what you're mentioning, issues of LGBT gay rights. In the past, there has been violence. You remember the former head of state even saying he will decapitate the heads of LGBT people. And they were actually subjected to violence. What the Human Rights Commission, we stand for non-discrimination. The law is very clear. Nobody should be subject to inhumane treatment or punishment. That's what I said. I said in my presentation, even if you suspect somebody of murder, or the Gambia may have laws against the act of homosexual. But even if you suspect somebody, due process must follow. It is the right, it is the obligation of the government to protect everybody in this country. It is as simple as that, and I want you to go away with that. It is the obligation of the state to protect you, myself, and everybody from violence. It doesn't matter what I'm accused of. So this is our position as a National Human Rights Commission. Yes. You want? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let it. Okay. Yeah.
No, maybe from here. It's fine. I think it's a very legit question.
You may want to.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
If you read our report, I'm sure you guys would. We focused on 20 areas, 20 human rights areas, and made about 91 recommendations to the state. 91 recommendations on various aspects of rights, civil and political, economic, social, and whatever, the NHRC itself, persons with disabilities, every area of rights. 91. That's huge, right? And 91 not repeated. All of them different. 91 recommendations. So as Chair said, these recommendations are also a checklist, but they are also a monitoring framework that at the end of 2020, the media would hold us accountable and hold the state accountable for the implementation of our recommendations. So all of us would then serve as watchdog, right? Ensure that the state fulfills this, and for everybody. And relating to your question, I think it's important we make things clear. When it's about states, the state is the primary duty bearer. The state for human rights has 3 levels of obligation. It has the obligation to respect, meaning that the state, as the giver of rights, is not supposed to violate the rights of people. The second obligation of the state is obligation to protect. Because in many instances, it's not the state that violates people's rights. It's people who violate each other's rights, right? And so the last level is the obligation to fulfill. That the state puts laws in place, policies and structures to ensure people enjoy the rights that they have. So in the report, what we indicated is that the state fulfills its right, its obligation to protect, to ensure that persons of other sexual orientations are not violated. They are not bullied, they are not discriminated, they are not killed by other people. We recognize that the environment has changed, that there is no violence at the moment, but it could happen. So that you and I and everybody would not attack those we think are different from us. The report never said decriminalize. We did not say decriminalize. Decriminalize is in the fulfillment obligation of the state. We did not say that because we recognize that there are laws that prohibit gay marriage. So we only say protect the rights of people. It was written in a human rights language. So unless we understand it, all of us would run away with this and say they want decriminalization. We never said decriminalization in our report. Decriminalization is about bringing laws in place. We say protect. Protect. It's not our responsibility as National Human Rights Commission to pass laws. We advise. We will not advise the state relating to that. We have advised the state relating to the Public Order Act. All of us are affected by that. We have told the state from permit, move to notification. We have told the state in our report that there have been violence against journalists in 2019. Some of the issues are not investigated. We want you to investigate those things and ensure that perpetrators are brought to book. We indicated that in our report. We indicated to the state, take out all those draconian media laws, because the media is absolutely important in our environment. So I think we need to understand that very well. So it was not only that. So we had, I'm saying, 20 sections, 20 focus of 91 recommendations. Guys, I'm sure you are interested in persons with disabilities, right? I'm sure you know that there is no law in this country that protects rights of persons with disabilities. No law at all. There is no national policy relating to that. Rape is an issue in this country. Who is addressing it? We have made all of those things in our recommendation. So I think maybe we'll have to put this issue to rest. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying now. Our point was not about decriminalization. Our point was about protection. Protect people. And all of us. Because the state has that obligation towards you as a journalist. Journalists are also human rights defenders, right? And the public, you can carry a story and the public is very angry with you. Yeah? We would be there for you when the state doesn't do anything. The National Human Rights Commission would be there to tell the state to protect journalists and all media practitioners. I hope that's very clear. I hope it will also bring the issue to rest once and for all, so that we understand the obligations of the state vis-a-vis human rights. And our emphasis, I repeat, has been on protection obligation and respect obligation. When we come to the fulfillment aspect, and when we think that the country is ready, we can have the laws. But we also know that even with laws, sometimes the state doesn't protect, right? Sometimes the laws can be there, and yet the state will not protect. So protection is an absolutely important aspect of the state's obligation, and that is our emphasis in the report, not decriminalization. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that is very clear. As I said, our mandate is to promote and protect human rights. In human, there is no exception. Because it didn't say animal, even animal rights are supposed to be protected anyway. So we will now move on, and I think the press has a lot now to take from that report and promote. A lot, because thank you very much, Commissioner Drame. Please take that aspects that have been mentioned, say more articles on them to help us out. Usman Mane, GRTS.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Dame, for answering one of my questions. That is on no law for people with disability. And this other one, the chairman spoke about the commission having the power of quasi-judicial system, I can say powers, and having the background of the Farababanda incident. Now that we have seen tension heightening when it comes to land dispute between community and state for ownership of land, has the commission made efforts from 2019 to date to call on parties to mediate between the two to find a possible solution?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I was thinking you were referring to Faraba. The nature of the commissions are different, as you know.
No, I understand.
You understand? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So just to tell you that as I speak to you right now, we have embarked on some investigation relating to issues surrounding mainly mining, issues, pollution, and land. And we have started the process, and we will come up with our findings very soon. But we have started the process because, as was said, we have realized that it's one of the flashpoint areas. In fact, last week when we talked, we even said that we need to start talking to the Land Commission as well, because there are many issues involved with land matters.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and just to add, when information came to the commission about women that were deprived of the gardens that they were using, we dispatched our team. And in fact, as I speak to you, we have written to the Ministry of Local Government and Land to clarify one or two things. So we are following on some of these land issues. Yeah.
Mohammed El Bojang, Mamos.
Sorry, yes, and Chair, you would add, no, sorry, you add, because those are all 2020 activities.
Yes.
We might not feature in this
Yes,
report.
exactly.
But it's ongoing.
Yes.
I think it's important.
Yes.
In case
So
you
some of these things, as she rightly said, are ongoing. And
they'll come in the 2020
they will be in the
report,
2020 report.
Mohammed Bojang, Mamos.
Okay, will the commission advocate for the repeal of laws that criminalize the behavior of gays?
Well, I think we have overflogged that issue. You came in very late. You came in just now. I saw you when you come in. The question has been asked. It has been overflogged.
Yeah, don't ask the question.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the current human rights situation of the Ghana?
Well, we've also answered that. You see, you came very late. I started by giving. I saw you when you came, Mamus. You just came in about 15 minutes ago. I'm sorry.
Omar Bas, standard
No, wait, I think
newspaper.
it's better to tell him that you can get your answer.
No, I need answers. So.
Yeah, don't have
Well, the answer was given. I don't want to repeat myself. The question was asked.
You don't ask the question already asked. So if you have a new one, we prefer that. But it was already asked.
So
and it was answered.
Okay.
Yes,
Talk to your colleagues.
Omar Ba.
No.
Omar Ba, standard.
Omar Ba as well is here.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berry. And I think before I begin, I warn myself that you have repeatedly said the issue of the LGBT has been dealt with.
Yes.
But, the fact
And
that,
thanks to you, everybody knows about it
the fact
now.
that was my story, and it was misconceived.
Yes.
We all know that.
Yes.
Because the story we never reported. The Human Rights Commission or the government to promote.
Yes.
What we said was protect. And it was clearly spelled out. What we said was to take legal and other measures to protect the human rights and equal treatment of LGBT persons. That's what we reported.
No, that's why we never. Did we complain against you?
No, I'm
No,
not.
well, I will
I'm
explain.
not connected to the show.
Yes.
We understand. The commissioner, we had a good relationship. You know, I interviewed him once. He would have called me if I misquoted him. Directly, he would have called me. It's not the problem, but I'm connecting this to the need for more sensitization. You know, for the need for more sensitization. And I want to ask the commissioner whether, in fact, this story